Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, our Week 17 reaction show, and Happy New Year to everybody. New Year's Eve, we have big plans tonight.
Ball's
big
about
plans.
to drop.
Big
Ball's
plans.
about to drop.
Out all across the country. Zach, first off, an apology to Zach. The Dolphins absolutely blown out today. Fantasy championship blown out loss. It was a tough day for Zach Bloomquist.
That's why I'm not on camera.
Who is still here, though.
At least Zach made the championship game.
Yeah, he made a championship game.
Made the championship game.
He was playing against my dad, and my dad had Kyron Williams. He had Puka Nacua. He had Devontae Adams. Basically, every leading scorer you could imagine. My dad scored about 200 points this week.
Bob knows how to win.
He's going to score 300.
Yeah, he might score 300 points.
Bob knows how to win.
He was projected 307 points. He
this
was
week?
at 147. He is at 370 points right now.
Yeah, that is one of the most unbelievable championship performances ever against Zach. But it's been a crazy week of NFL action here. And we'll start off. The Cardinals go into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles.
You didn't even introduce Ziggy?
Oh, I feel like that. All right. I'll introduce everyone. Paul, joined by Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler in California, and Zach Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game, who, as we said, is quite upset right now. And that opening game we're going to talk about, the Cardinals 35, the Eagles 31, a game that Arizona really dominated. It was much more of a blowout in the stats than it was on the scoreboard. 39-20 in terms of time of possession there, or 40-20 in times of possession. The Cardinals controlled the ball most of the game here. And Kyler Murray, 25 for 31, 232 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He looked really good. But the problem for Philadelphia is with this loss, the Cowboys now control their destiny to winning the NFC East and getting the home playoff game, which all Philadelphia had to do, when you look on paper, is beat the Cardinals, beat the Giants, and you're hosting a playoff game. Now Philadelphia is in all likelihood going to have to go on the road to Tampa Bay or New Orleans, both places where, they handled Tampa Bay earlier in the year. New Orleans, a difficult environment, but not ideal for Philadelphia, who seems to be fading as opposed to coming on at the right time.
I mean, just awful, because forget even the first round going on the road, which obviously stinks, but you're going to have to deal now with San Francisco a round earlier, a team that beat you by 30 points. But like you said, this game, it was 14-3 Philly early, but Arizona had a 99-yard pick six. Arizona was dominating the game. They should have been up 14-3. But it was just really, it's really surprising to see. But Kyler would come with a bit of a flair here in this one. Wanted to show he was the better Oklahoma QB than Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Little OU rivalry there, but real bad. To be up by double digits at home against a 4-win team and lose.
And most of their weapons, that Marquise Brown wasn't playing. This is an undermanned Cardinals team to begin with.
You tell me Philly scores 31 points at home against Arizona.
Have to win that game.
That's not good. James Conner balled out, though.
Ziggy, when you look at Philadelphia right now, are you seeing a team that could even be upset in the first round? I mean, they were outgained 449 to 275 on the day.
The problem with this Eagles team is it seems like the defense can't stop anybody and the offense is inconsistent, right? This isn't like last year where Jalen Hurts and the offense are going to be able to carry you no matter what the defense does. And when you look at the defensive performance against the Cardinals, they gave up 32 first downs. The Cardinals had 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and 1 interception, 0 punts. The Cardinals, every single time they wanted to move the ball, they were able to get a first down or a touchdown. Basically every single time. And if your defense isn't able to stop Kyler Murray and the Cardinals from driving, I'm not confident you're going to be able to stop Baker Mayfield. I'm certainly not confident you're going to be able to stop the Cowboys or the 49ers, the teams that you're actually hoping to beat. So it's really tough for me to see this team going much farther than the wild card round, even if they somehow were able to get the win.
And look at the Eagles' lone win in recent weeks. Last week was still, you're a double-digit favorite at home against the Giants, and it ends up being a very close game.
They got back into that game.
There's a minute left. The Giants are driving down the field easily and just ran out of time.
Well, and that's what we talked about last week when speaking on this Eagles team is last season, the defense felt like they can suffocate you and win a game. And the offense is having its own issues. But defensively, Philadelphia, if you went into their building, or really playing them anywhere, they could crush you. And this season, it's just a bunch of people are regressing, and now we're seeing an Eagles team that's allowing 35 points to the Cardinals without a lot of their starting receivers.
Wait. Hold on, Paul. Are you saying that making Matt Patricia the defensive coordinator didn't solve all their defense's problems?
Well, hey, look who beat them too. It was Jonathan Gannon went in there and beat them today. Like, you wonder how much they miss him. But yeah, this Eagles defense to me is the main reason that I'm circling them as a potential upset in the first round of the wild card round coming up. They still have a shot of winning the NFC East, but in all likelihood, you have to imagine the Cowboys take down the Commanders here. I'm concerned though.
Look at the sequence in the last couple minutes of today. You get down to the red zone. Horrible play calling down there. You get held to a field goal, and then Arizona marches right down the field in your home stadium.
And you were hoping if you were a Cardinal fan at that time to get overtime, and they went and scored the touchdown. Like like you said, they marched down easily.
Yeah,
it's
like, does that happen right now in San Francisco? Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. And again, DeAndre Swift too.
Unless you're Baltimore.
DeAndre Swift, I'd like to see him get. I don't know what's going on with him. Fantasy wise, I've been waiting for him to do something, and it's just a little annoyed there.
Fantasy's over. So
one more point on this game. Watching Kyler Murray play today made me start to think that he could be the Cardinals quarterback next season. All year, a lot of people have thought that Arizona's just going to move on with their top 5 pick, go get a Drake May or whoever might fall to them. For a while, it looked like they might be the number 1 overall pick. But with the way Kyler looked, he's moving, looks healthy, he's running around, accurate. I'm expecting them, if they're sitting there in the 4th pick right now, let's say May and Caleb Williams are gone, either trade that pick back for someone who wants a quarterback, load up on draft picks, or, take Marvin Harrison Jr. or something and try and build around Kyler. He's making more and more of a case to me that he can be the franchise quarterback moving forward in Arizona.
Yeah, he's been...
I was going to say, what makes his performance today so impressive today is who was he throwing the ball to? His leading receivers were Greg Dortch and Trey McBride with a little Michael Wilson sprinkled in there. Like, he's been able to get it done despite not having great personnel. So I think that's a sign you've got a quarterback who's worth keeping and building around. We've seen a lot of offensive dysfunction in Arizona, but he's been able to rise above the circumstances plenty of times. I'm certainly eyeing a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. if he falls to me from the Cardinals.
Yes, well, I'm sure we'll talk more about that as the season goes on. But Kyler Murray, there aren't many guys who can do what he does in the NFL. And when Arizona signed him with the extension, that was the reason why. He can make plays happen that most quarterbacks in the NFL can't. All right, we'll move on to, sorry, Zach, the Dolphins and the Ravens here. Blowout.
Here, I got it. Don't worry.
In
Go
Baltimore.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We've all been muted. The Ravens absolutely pound Miami. Final score, what did it get up to? 56-19 here. You had Tyler Huntley throwing touchdown passes at the end of this one. A brutal loss for Miami. And we were laughing about it on the car ride over. This was a 14-13 game with Miami having just hit a field goal with a few minutes left in the first half. You blink your eyes, and there's a Zay Flowers 75-yard touchdown pass to an interception. Isaiah Likely one-handed catch for, 30, 40-yard touchdown on 4th and 7?
On 4th and 7.
Yeah, 4th and 7. And next thing you know, it's 28-13 going into halftime. Baltimore gets the ball out of the half, runs down to, the 5-yard line immediately, and game's over.
And let's not forget that right off the bat, the Dolphins came up and
they
struck
scored
first. It was 7-zip right off the bat. I'm like, this is going to be a fantastic
I was on my way
game
home from church. I was 5 minutes behind. I looked up, and the Dolphins were winning already.
Oh, they marched right off the field. Tua looked amazing. It was awesome.
And it's just crazy how quickly things can unravel. Very Vikings-esque from you guys today, where you just have a letdown on all sides of the football immediately. And now Miami, unfortunately for you guys, Buffalo beat New England. So going into next week, you are hosting the Bills with the AFC East on the line and a slew of injuries. At the end of the game, Bradley Chubb's carted off. Tua's banged up a little bit. We don't know Jalen Waddle's status for next week.
Gone.
Howard, what was his? Do we know what happened to Howard?
I think it's foot.
It's a ton of it. It was just a horrible day to be a Miami Dolphins.
You just need to.
And I will say it was baffling to me. The game was 3 or 4 scores, and McDaniel kept the starters in. And this is when Bradley Chubb got hurt. This is when Tua got banged up. And I've wanted to throttle him through the TV screen. It's like, dude, next week you have to beat a red-hot Buffalo team. And you're playing for the difference between the 2 seed and the 6 seed in the AFC. That's an enormous difference. That's between hosting every playoff game except one and having to go on the road for every single playoff game. So the fact is you can't afford injuries. The game's over. You have to just accept that and move on, even though it's disappointing.
And Baltimore right now is just a different beast. They're in a league of their own.
I don't know what you do with them.
No, Lamar is the clear-cut MVP, playing the best I've ever seen him play. best quarterback in football by a landslide in my eyes right now. Zay Flowers is awesome. The Gus Bus got in the end zone today, and the Baltimore defense forced 2-3 turnovers. That's what they had to do.
You see Lamar's passer rating? He was a perfect 158.3. He was 18 for 21 for 321 yards and 5 touchdowns.
They're blowing teams out. I know, like we've talked about this story with the Dolphins on the road before, but look what's happened to so many good teams this year in Baltimore. And even on the Baltimore on the road won with double digits against San Francisco.
The only close game they had at home was the Rams that I can think of.
I mean, they're in a league of their own.
Or I know they lost to the Browns, but for the most part, the Ravens have been unbeatable.
Detroit. They went on the road to San Francisco and murdered them.
Yep. It's been a crazy, especially over the past couple of weeks, we've seen the Ravens team sort of separate themselves from the rest of the field here. And actually, it's kind of disappointing to think about. Mark Andrews stays healthy. Mitchell got hurt a couple of weeks ago. Like, this Ravens team could have been even better, but they're still finding ways to win by 30 points against elite competition.
You don't often find a team where you can throw the ball, you can run the ball, you're the best offense in the league, and you're the best defense in the league.
I mean, that's the formula.
Special
right?
teams is also fantastic. I mean, they just do it on all three sides. They're the best in football on all three sides.
When you look right now, Ziggy, this is an interesting question here. Ravens or the field right now in the AFC?
The Ravens are getting hot at just the right time. They're going to have the 1 seed, which means they're going to have that bye. They get a little time to rest their guys. I think it's certainly fortunate that they don't have to go and play the Steelers in a must-win game, because someone was getting hurt in that game.
Oh, we would have beat them.
Given what we've seen from the Ravens, I'm inclined to say the Ravens over the field. Every other major team in the AFC, think of who their competition is: Buffalo, Kansas City, Miami. Right? Those are teams they've either beaten or have huge problems and question marks.
I take the Ravens over the field.
Oh, no, I would too. I'm saying just the fact that
Baltimore?
No, I'm saying the fact is, the beginning of the season, if I were to tell you we're sitting here week 17 saying Ravens or the field,
oh yeah,
you would say, are you out of your mind? And just with the way this season has fallen, we said it last week, this is the best opportunity Baltimore may ever have to win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, and they just continue to pound the point home that they're the best team in not just the AFC but the NFL. And I do feel bad for you, Zach, though, because this is a golden opportunity that is slowly slipping away. And
next week is the week for the Dolphins. They're at home. It'll be Sunday Night Football. That's the game they have to win.
Oh, no.
It's not like it's impossible to win with the 2 seed.
No. Next week will determine whether or not they have a Super Bowl opportunity.
And I said this too. You're going to the best team in football. They're only giving 3 points for a chance to clinch a number 1 seed. The Dolphins weren't going to win today.
You didn't bet it, though, you said, right?
Next week is their game.
No bet. You didn't bet on the Ravens.
I didn't bet. No, I did. I didn't put it on sharps though.
Oh, okay. I did just want to mention last night's game briefly. Did you guys watch? Were you guys able to catch Lions-Cowboys? A little bit of that. What a great football game. And as a CD Lamb fantasy owner, holy crap! 13 catches, 227 yards, and a touchdown. He is really elevated to be top 3 receiver in the league right now at this point. Top 5. I still think he's being underrated, because you see Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson every week. But CeeDee Lamb, the numbers that he's been putting up for a Cowboys offense, where you look around the rest of it, there are some solid weapons, but he has stepped up and become a true alpha in that offense there. And Dak looked really good again, but still, Detroit should have won the football game. And Ziggy and I were arguing back and forth about Dan Campbell's decision-making there at the end. You were pro going for 2, Ziggy, but not pro going for 2 from the 7-yard line, correct?
No, there's an old gambling term. It comes from playing poker called tilt. It's where there's a hand you feel like you should have won, and something really unlucky happens and it didn't go your way. So after that, you just start going all in on these horrendous hands because you're too angry to think clearly. You've got to think something like that was going through Dan Campbell's mind. After realistically they should have gotten that 2-point conversion, it was an officiating error. Unfortunately, it happens. But then going for 2 from the 7 just says, I'm mad. I don't care. We're moving on. There were some people on Twitter saying this because he didn't want to play his guys in overtime because they can't get the 1 seed anyway.
This is a ridiculous take. You texted that in the group chat, and I said that is the stupidest thing.
Yeah, no, it is ridiculous.
Yeah, we were talking about why.
I wasn't saying that. I was saying people were
just messing around. But I'm looking.
I didn't see that message.
Oh, it's just when they went for it. So again, I was watching this game with fantasy purposes since the Vikings are are out of the NFC North running base. They are. And a bunch of people I was with were rooting for different players too. So we go, oh, great, overtime, let's go. When they went for 2 the first time, you're thinking, okay, this is just Dan Campbell being who Dan Campbell is. Sometimes he's a little more aggressive than I like, but that's just his style. He's trying to win a game on the road against Dallas, tough place to win. Then after the penalty, everyone's high-fiving, saying, field goal, and you see the offense march back out there. And I think someone behind me just yelled, what an idiot. And they got bailed out with the Micah Parsons penalty. But then there again, you're right. They should have won the game to begin with. It looked clearly like, who was it, Decker? Who I'm trying to remember which.
Yeah, Decker's the one who checked.
Yeah, he went over to the ref and checked in. It's just a weird situation.
But,
Sorry, go Ziggy.
I was going to say, people want to make these things about officiating. The officials also missed a tripping call a little bit earlier. Missed calls happen. I get that it's bad. The ref's explanation was bad afterwards. But in like a 21-19 game, the fact is the Lions had an opportunity to win. They had lots of opportunities to win and didn't convert. Dallas was probably the better team here.
I love the call to go for 2 because you kind of felt like you stole that game on the road. You're down by 7. You march down late. You're down by 1. And when you're the road team, I think it's different than being at home. Like when the crowd's against you, I'd rather just try to go steal the win right then and there than go to overtime. Especially as a road dog like that. So I do like that call there, but I do also agree once you have the penalty from the 7-yard line, you kick. And it was funny. I was at one of my friend's apartment celebrating his birthday yesterday. And
you're with a Lions fan, right?
With a Lions fan.
Yes, a huge Lions fan.
I had the Cowboys -4.5, and he's obviously a huge Lions fan. So we're both like, extra point, extra point, extra point, extra point. They were both like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
So even the Lions fan, yeah, okay.
We both lost. But, he wanted big time the extra point from the 7.
It had to have been a pretty encouraging performance, though, for the Lions, just to go into Dallas where so many teams have been blown out this season. And the Lions, of late, they beat the Vikings in a big comeback win, or a big bounce-back win. But they haven't looked the way they did earlier in the season for the past few weeks. And finally, you get a performance against a really good team where you go back and forth with them, and you have that game-winning drive, or what should have been a game-winning drive from Goff. So I think if you're a Lions fan, even though it sucks to lose like that, and it sucks to lose the opportunity to get the 1 seed potentially, you still have to sit back and say, okay, we're probably going to get the 2 now. Are they? I believe they're in line to get the 2 at this point. Oh, wait, no, because they lost this game to Dallas. All right, right. So they'll be the 3. But still, they'll have a home playoff game, and if you have to go to Dallas in the second round of the playoffs,
it showed you could beat them.
You can go in there and beat them, and I mean, you're going to have some extra motivation to beat them from the way that this game ended the first time. Last thing on Dallas here. Do you guys find yourself concerned with the Cowboys to any degree heading into the playoffs? Or have these past 2 weeks just showed you, they're one of the elite contenders going back and forth with these other good teams?
No, I mean, I think that Dallas, especially now with controlling their own destiny to get the number 2 seed and host throughout up until the NFC Championship game, what they've done this year in AT&T, and Detroit's a good football team, and they beat them.
Mm-hmm.
I see no concern, especially playing at home. And the one other thing I will say, I believe that if CeeDee Lamb doesn't fumble at the 1-yard line and it's 14-3 Cowboys, it's a runaway.
Mm-hmm.
I think that play changed the course of this game. But Dallas just beat a good football team. They lost a tough game in Miami and then came home and beat a good football team. What are they, undefeated at home? And now they're the number 2 seed if they beat the Commanders? No, there's no concern for me at all. You have one of the best weapons in the history of football this year. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Their home away splits have been pretty concerning. But the fact is, it's extremely likely now that they will get to play most of their playoff games at home. Then you build some momentum, you play one decent game on the road, and you're in the Super Bowl. I think that's a realistic path for Dallas.
Yeah, it's like they'll be a favorite, most likely, up until the NFC Championship. But at that point, anybody could probably win that game in San Francisco.
Yeah, maybe. San Francisco's weird.
Yeah. The 49ers seem to have the Cowboys number every
I wouldn't
time.
pick Dallas. I wouldn't pick Dallas. But up until that game...
that's a game that you'd be excited to watch. And you expect to see a good game, despite what happened earlier this season.
But no, there's no concern for Dallas. They're the number 2 seed if they beat Washington.
Okay.
In a building where they don't seem to lose.
Now, we may have been a little premature with handing the Buccaneers the NFC South title this week. We were trying, Jack. We were trying to manifest some fate. Yeah. But ultimately on this show, it seems like we're either really right or really wrong. And watching the most of the Saints-Bucs game, the Saints just beat the crap out of Baker Mayfield and that Bucs offense.
Baker Mayfield's two-face. And this is the other side of Baker Mayfield, like the horrible Baker Mayfield that you can't afford to see.
It is. And, we just put out a video. Ziggy, you got flamed in the comment section because you said, I think Dallas or whoever would go into that wild card matchup in Tampa Bay and beat the crap out of the Buccaneers. And everyone's saying, like, all right, what the hell is this guy? No, he has no idea what he's talking about. We're hot. And then you see the Saints, not like, let alone the Cowboys or Eagles or anyone, go in and just wallop them. It's 20-0, midway through the third quarter. The Buccaneers can't get anything going. And now we're in a situation where heading into next week, both teams have an opportunity to win that division. Right now, as it stands with Tampa Bay, I think I'm reverting back to, they'll probably win the division still, but they'll be gone in the first round. They're probably handled pretty easily by Philadelphia.
If they lay a clunker like this, of course, but this was the same Bucs team who just beat the Saints a few weeks back.
Yeah,
and they played a terrible game.
But it's hard to be confident in a team when they have such polar abilities. Like
yeah, of course. But in a playoff game, when you're playing,
Ziggy laughing at that.
When you're playing at home, and the Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, who have shown what they can be, show up, I'm gonna pick them.
But this is who Baker is, though. Like, Baker's up and down all the time.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you get a Baker, like a bad Baker, like the Jekyll and Hyde type Baker, then it's horrendous.
I mean, the thing that keeps coming into my head though is like you're realistically, it's likely the Eagles, right, that are going to go to Raymond James, assuming the Buccaneers beat the Panthers and the Cowboys
and they mauled them already by 20.
Yeah, but like. This Eagles team feels pretty different, right? Are you telling me like this Eagles defense that couldn't stop Kyler Murray and the Cardinals is really going to do that much better on the road against Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers? It might, right? But it seems just as likely to me that the Buccaneers will have offensive success. We've seen them put up plenty of big offensive games this year. They'll just be consistent. They'll make plays and they'll win. I don't think the season's over for the Buccaneers.
No. It's definitely not over. But I lose confidence in them when I just see. When I see how inconsistent they are and the fact that Philadelphia, I know that they haven't been playing well, but I trust Jalen Hurts to show up in a playoff game. I don't necessarily trust Baker Mayfield. And that's ultimately going to be the reason that I think Philadelphia will go in there and handle them pretty easily.
Yeah, Baker's been inconsistent. That's who he's been throughout his whole career, which makes him tough to trust. I agree. But this season, Jalen Hurts has been inconsistent. He leads the league in turnovers, is he not?
It's him or Josh Allen.
Jared Goff has the same type of inconsistency.
Well, that's why the NFC is going to be fun too.
Yeah, so I don't think we can just say, oh, the Bucs lost today at home. They have no chance in the playoffs at home, especially against an Eagles team who's faltered a bit. I mean, it's obviously a game you don't want to lose because you're playing for the chance to clinch your division at home, and you get blown out. It's terrible, but it's not a total end all be all.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just really disappointed with the Tampa Bay performance.
I was as well.
No, I mean, it's if you were one of those Bucs fans who thought this team could go on a run, I think this should basically put that to bed. But the realistic hopes for Bucs fans were win a playoff game, and you can still hope for that after this.
I think realistic hope most of this season is just to get to the playoffs. Yeah.
I think at home. Awesome.
Did the Bucs? Was it the Bucs that had the lowest win total at the start of the season? Yeah. It was between them, the Texans, and the Rams were right, and the Cardinals were all sort of there at the bottom. So the season's been a great success. I mean, you sign Baker Mayfield, you keep things rolling, but yeah, you want to make the playoffs. So just whatever you do, don't give the Panthers a home win this year.
The Texans. Now we can move on to some AFC South talk because we love, again, a little bit of a Texans podcast here. Finally, CJ Stroud is back. Yes, Zach. CJ Stroud was back this week.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear
it. Hey, Zach did pick the Texans. He
did. He was dozing off in the world of Hinge during the predictions last week's episode. But yeah, so the Texans now, arguably the most exciting game, or one of the most exciting games next week, will be the Texans and the Colts. The winner of that game gets in as the wild card team in the AFC. With a tie, though,
there
opens up a door for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, if we beat the Seahawks today,
if you beat the
going on
Seahawks
right now during
that game is not going to be a tie.
But anyway, CJ Stroud and the Texans come back. They get a big win, a really convincing win against Will Levis and then later Ryan Tannehill and the Titans. Now, as good as CJ Stroud looked in this one, he wound up 24 for 32, 213 yards and a touchdown. first game back after multiple weeks out with the concussion. The Houston defense was just phenomenal today. They had 6 sacks on Tennessee. Really, what is it here? 187 yards of total offense for the Titans. This was one of those performances where you sit back and go, wow, this Texans team, if they can just get in with the way CJ Stroud has been playing throughout this entire season, when the defense is on, they are swarming. That's their motto, right? Swarm in Houston. It would be a lot of fun, and I'm rooting for that team to get in because I think they can make some noise even with all the injuries the offense has sustained.
It was a solid all-around
It was an ass whooping.
It was just a very solid performance. I mean, it's the type of game that you, as a playoff hopeful on your home field against a team who stinks, it's the type of game that you want to see. Just go out there and thrash them, which they did. I don't really have a whole lot of hope for the Texans to do a whole lot in the playoffs. Like who they go to, like a team like Miami in the first round, something like that.
They're going to play the AFC winner if they make the playoffs and the Jaguars win.
Wait, who will they play? Let's say they
get the AFC East winner.
Yes, the Bills or the Dolphins. I don't see much past the wild card.
I can see that. I can see them beating Miami.
I couldn't see them beating Miami,
depending on where these injuries go for the Dolphins.
Ain't nobody beating us.
Yes,
but no. Again, look again. Like it's similar to the Bucs, right? This team had a win total of 4 or 5. You draft a rookie quarterback, a bunch of rookies. You have no expectations. Now you're 1 win away from going to the postseason. Mm-hmm. Anything on top of that is just gravy.
And it is worth noting, right? Like Trevor Lawrence is not healthy. The Jaguars do have to win next week to lock up the division. If CJ Beathard's not able to get it done in Tennessee, Jaguars are on the road and the Texans win. Now we're talking about them hosting the Browns, which again, I'm not sure that's exactly what you want to be doing, but there's a possibility there.
I love watching this Texans team, though. To me, they're still, when Stroud is playing, one of the most fun teams in the league to sit back and just like look at all these young kids go out there and just work their asses off. And they're like when he's healthy, they are probably a top what? You think they're a top 5 AFC team with CJ Stroud healthy?
Yeah, I'd probably go Buffalo, Miami, Baltimore.
You take him over Kansas City?
You don't have to. You just have to take him over one of Kansas City or Cincinnati. That's it.
Well, I'd probably put the Browns above them right now, with the way the Browns are playing. But
it's close. They're running close.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you really trust Joe? Yeah.
I mean, if Houston were to win the division, I do think Jacksonville beats Tennessee. But if they don't, and Houston wins the division, gets the number 4 seed, I would pick and win that playoff game against Cleveland most likely.
Do you think they'll beat the Colts next week in Indianapolis? And we'll talk a lot more about this on the prediction show. But
yeah, I probably would take them over the Colts.
I feel like everyone will take them, and then there'll be this weird spot where the Colts find a way. The Colts, no one talks about the Colts at all, and they currently control their destiny to the wild card spot. I don't know what's going on with them. They're a weird team. They're one of those teams like
both teams are pretty solid teams.
Yeah, that'll be a fun game to watch.
That's true. I think back to the start of the season, right? It was week 2 when the Colts beat the Texans with Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
And after Anthony Richardson went out, I think it was either week 3 or week 4 for the season. If you could tell both these teams week 18, they'd be playing each other for a wild card spot. I mean, that's a really exciting situation for both their fans to be.
Yeah.
But ultimately, to me, it's going to come down to, I think CJ Stroud is a superstar quarterback, and Gardner Minshew can get the job done. CJ Stroud is who I'm backing in that game. There's no doubt in my mind. And I'm pretty confident the Texans are going to win that game, barring some crazy injury at the start of it. We promised we talk about the Browns for a second, too. Because what's going on in Cleveland, I cannot believe that Joe Flacco is, let alone winning in the NFL, just playing right now. Because
he's dominating.
I mean, he's the best quarterback in football right now.
A year ago, he was on he's making a couple of starts for the Jets, and he looked dead. Honestly, I had no idea he was even on a roster to start this season.
You just go to the Jets to die.
Yeah, you do go to the Jets. It's a miserable place to be. It's got to be a little weird for you though, Jack. Right, watching this guy. It's like watching, I guess, Aaron Rodgers for me. But Rodgers has been so good still. It's like Joe Flacco having this resurgence. Are you enjoying it as a Steeler fan?
I love it though. I'm rooting for him,
even though he's on the Browns.
Like Joe. We grew up watching Joe Flacco and Big Ben have these battles. And
yeah.
I always used to say that I used to go to a ton of Steelers games, and Joe Flacco was the only quarterback who would come into our stadium when we were legit, when the stadium's rocking, it's going nuts.
Oh, I remember.
And he's the only quarterback who would go in there and it's like nothing to him, unfazed, and he'd go in there and beat us multiple times. It was amazing. But no, to see a guy who I've just watched for so many years, a couple times a year, and honestly didn't hate. Now to see him like having this rejuvenation and playing really well, I like to see it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm rooting for him.
He had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half.
In the first half, in the first half, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like what?
And he was falling asleep on the sideline.
That's the best game of his career.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought that's what he was doing. I thought he was, an old quarterback who was just sitting there to be a sage and no longer able to do this.
Joe Flacco's rookie year when he went to the AFC Championship game, when he played in Pittsburgh, and he threw the pick 6 to Polamalu to end the game. I remember I was saying, this guy's going to be really, really, really good. And he had his one very good year. They won the Super Bowl, but kind of backed by that amazing defense. And then kind of just, I was upset when Lamar came in and Joe Flacco was kicked to the curb a little bit. And that was kind of the end of Joe for a while. And I like Joe Flacco. And now just to see him back, like I want nothing more. I'm telling you, I want nothing in the world more than for him to go into Baltimore and knock off the Ravens in the playoffs. I want nothing more than that. So I'm rooting hard for him. I'm rooting harder for Cleveland than my own Steelers.
At this point, oh, wow.
Because I think that Cleveland and Joe Flacco can go into Baltimore in the playoffs and win. What a story that would be. We lose 70-0. So I don't even care to see that. But I want Captain Joe to go in there and win that game. Because you remember, John Harbaugh, they told him, no, we got Lamar, like, you're done now. Kicked the guy to the curb, kicked our Super Bowl winning quarterback to the curb for Lamar Jackson, and now
what a
he's
horrible
back.
decision.
And now he's back, and he's gonna beat Lamar in the postseason, baby. I'm all team Joe.
There's just something so magical about this. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I remember we ran a segment when the Browns first signed Joe Flacco, and I pointed out that his second most recent win from when he was signed was with the Broncos in 2019, like week 6. And suddenly this guy's coming out. He's not perfect, but he understands the assignment in Cleveland. Play hard, play aggressive, complete some passes, get some big touchdowns, make Amari Cooper look like an NFL record-setting wide receiver.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we all sat back and said, Joe Flacco, whatever his first game was, I can't remember. We all sat back and said, Joe Flacco's playing this game. There's no way in hell I'm picking the Browns.
No, he's my type of quarterback, though. Like a 2010 quarterback, big gunslinger, stand in the pocket, whip the ball over the field. I mean, I love that. So
look, if they're locked into the 5 seed now, if this Browns offensive line can keep playing, the receivers can get healthy, because they're going to give a lot of guys off next week, I imagine. Would it be a shocker if the Browns go into the AFC South winner like the Jaguars and win?
No.
Absolutely not.
I will say this right now. I believe that there is value on the Cleveland Browns to win the Super Bowl.
Do you know what the number is?
I don't know what the number is, but it's got to be outrageous, right? It's got to be an outrageous number.
They're pulling it up right now. Browns to win the Super Bowl. I can't believe after Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb goes down, we're sitting here week 17 looking up Browns Super Bowl odds.
But you have
an
unbelievable
Browns are plus 3,500. I don't think there's value there.
You have an unbelievable defense, one of the best in football. You have a quarterback who has won a Super Bowl and now is playing better than he was playing that season. Amari Cooper seems to just love this guy because he's now amazing. There's value on this team.
Yeah, and they put up those points last week against the Jets without Amari Cooper.
But look what their path would be. Like, you go to the AFC South winner. That's a winnable game. Then
Let's say the Jaguars. I'm imagining the Jaguars beat the Titans.
Jaguars. They could be the Jaguars. And then you have Joe Flacco's superstar revenge game in Baltimore. He can go in there and win. That's an AFC
Wouldn't they play the 3 seed first?
No, they'd be the 5.
Well,
so you're the 4.
Imagine Kansas City would probably win and then play Buffalo or Miami.
I'm saying they go 4-1-2. I'm just saying it's all chalk. I'll say 4-1-2. But you go to the AFC South winner, Jacksonville. They could win that game for sure. Then it's Baltimore.
Where they already beat Baltimore.
Yes. AFC North, chippy, hard-fought game.
Those games are always close.
Always close. And then Miami.
Or Buffalo.
Winnable.
Yeah, Miami or Buffalo.
I think there's value on the Browns. I really do. I think Joe Flacco's got it right now. The best defense in the league.
To me, it seems like a situation where this is an unbelievable, magical run. And somewhere within the next week or two, he's just gonna fall apart.
No, it would have
I
been.
can't see him going on our playoff run.
It would have been a magical.
I'd love to. It's just hard for me to envision it.
He's won 4 games in a row.
Yeah, they've won 4 games.
I don't think that's some magic. I think he's a decent quarterback with a very good defense. I think it's a very good team.
They're locked into 5 seed. Whatever you do, don't play Joe Flacco next week because whatever amount of like fairy magic he's gotten them, there's a limited amount. You got to just save every bit of it you can for the playoffs. And I mean, look, we've seen less probable runs than this, right? We saw Nick Foles take over the Eagles and take them to a Super Bowl. And in the NFL, anything can happen when you've got a great defense. So we'll see what happens.
The last time Joe Flacco had a ferocious defense, he won a Super Bowl. He probably has better weapons now.
If Joe Flacco wins the Super Bowl, maybe he's a Hall of Famer.
They probably have better weapons. I still... When I walked into my basement the other day, I was catching up on the games, and I just saw Flacco throwing up a fist bump up 34, whatever. I was like, holy crap, are they?
He's good.
Yeah. What were you talking about them possibly getting the 1 seed if the Dolphins had won today? Last question on the Browns here, and I want this to be civil because we've gone back and forth on this before, just on Joe Flacco. When it comes to comeback player of the year, do you think he should win the award?
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
I think I'm still in the Damar Hamlin camp here, but Joe Flacco is making me consider.
Well, comeback player of the year is not most improved player, right? Joe Flacco came back from being kind of bad. Damar Hamlin came back from dying.
That is true.
Yeah, look, there's nothing in the world that I wanted more than Damar Hamlin to come back healthy, and I'm super happy that whole thing is over and he's back now again playing football and everything is okay. But I believe that the award should be won by having good performances on the field. Hamlin has not played.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not a most improved player award. What's a harder thing to come back from, right? Being kind of bad at football or the grave.
I know, but he hasn't played football.
Yeah, no, I understand. The side of Jack's argument is that Joe Flacco is a comeback player of the year to some degree. You have to include actually coming back and playing
and putting
good
up
football.
Putting up numbers.
It's not necessarily just the fact that Joe Flacco is, playing football, but Damar Hamlin, the one exception I might make to the rule
is that he was dead.
Is that he actually died. Like, it's not like
on an NFL field.
Yeah, it's not like Damar Hamlin had his leg twisted around and it's a miracle that he's walking and he somehow played. The dude was dead on the field, and that could be the exception.
I think all he needed this year was just 1 interception, and he wins comeback player of the year. But he doesn't have stats.
Yeah. All I'm saying is there's enormous value. If you talk about value, there's enormous value on Damar Hamlin comeback player of the year.
Well, I think
he's the favorite, right?
What's he at now?
He's minus 140.
Yeah, minus 140. Well, remember to start the year, he was what, minus like 50,
he's like minus 20,000.
20,000.
I think there's some value on Baker Mayfield.
Look, if you want to give it to most improved player, you don't give it to Joe Flacco. You give it to Baker Mayfield.
Most improved.
Yeah, if that's how you want to see the award, because Joe Flacco's put together like 4 or 5 good games. Baker Mayfield put together an entire comeback season after being left for dead.
Yeah, last season people were, watching that Rams comeback win, and whatever the night game was, and they were like, "Wow, Baker could really still sling it, or maybe." And now this season, a probable playoff run. This Joe Flacco stuff is so fun to watch, though. I am really enjoying the Cleveland Browns somehow. And a little shout out to our friend Christian Lee, who listens every once in a while. He's a big Browns fan.
Last thing I'll say about Joe Flacco is, of course, he wasn't going to succeed in New York because there's never going to be another Broadway Joe. But Main Street Joe in the AFC North, playing for the Ravens and the Browns, 2 honest, hardworking American franchises, not like those damn Yankees. That's where Joe Flacco thrives.
It's one of the best stories in sports this year, Joe Flacco. I think that we could probably wrap up there. I was looking at the Rams and the Giants, but that was a fun game. One that the Giants let slip.
If the Giants won, we could talk about it. But
actually, something you can mention about that game is that had the Rams lost, it opens the door a little bit more for the Vikings or Packers, depending on what happens here with the Seahawks game. So that Rams loss or Rams win does hurt us a lot as Vikings fans and the Packers fans who listen. We'll have to see. There's still a lot of football left to be played. And then we had that night game tonight. Packers and Vikings, a elimination game at this point. Yep. Jaron Hall, perhaps the future of Minnesota tonight on the field. Now, Kirk will be back. But we thank you guys for listening to the Week 17 reaction show. Does anyone have any closing thoughts they want to say? Any reactionary takes? Zach, are you okay?
I'm going to cry. When that ball drops, I'm going to cry.
Zach went into my...
Minute by minute.
We were downstairs watching the games, and at this point, it's like 49-13, whatever it was. And my dad scored his 6th touchdown against Zach within 5 minutes.
Oh, you were watching it with
and
him?
Zach just... My dad was not holding back either. And then Zach goes into the bathroom, closes the door, and he was in there for like 4 or 5 minutes. I looked over at Matt. I was like, something is being destroyed in that bathroom right now. It was a boiling point for our poor Dolphins fan.
I mean, look, here's the good thing for Dolphins fans, right? Is once midnight hits, this loss will be last year. And in the new year, the Dolphins will be 0-0 against teams over 500.
Yeah, you literally have to go 1-0 this year and you get the number 2 seed in the AFC.
You would have signed up for that too.
Yes.
Right?
Win the first game of the year. That's it. Season opener in Miami next week.
Yeah.
Season opener.
You got to go 1-0 in 2024.
That's it, man.
Yeah, I'm just boiling in the back of my head that this happens every year. We go to the playoffs and literally...
No, you don't. You don't go to the playoffs every year.
Oh, sorry. Not every year. But every year we've gone to the playoffs. We've either lost our starting quarterback or some major... It's usually...
Take it up with your coach, man.
It is normally your quarterback.
It is normally our quarterback.
Oh, one last thing, Ziggy.
Yeah.
Do you have a New Year's resolution, Ziggy?
I might.
Yeah, you can't reveal it. It's bad luck.
Oh, you can't?
Yeah, no, you can't say the New Year's resolution before the New Year starts.
Oh, I revealed mine to my mom when she asked, so maybe there's a mom
So you're not
exception.
going to get it then?
Yeah, so I failed already. Not even the new year yet, and I failed.
I'll probably fail too.
All right, thanks again for listening to the Week 17 reaction show. 1 week left. 1 week left. And then the playoff grind starts, and next thing you know, we're in the offseason doing drafts again. That's what people really want from this show. And the hinge. Oh my gosh. I can't wait for Ziggy's hinge updates. That'll be huge. All right. We'll see you guys with the Week 18 preview. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year.